Today on the show, I have my friend and entertainer Peter Allen Vogt joining me once again. Several seasons ago, he came on the podcast to discuss opening Dizney MGM Studios, where he worked in an entertainment role. These days, he's a friend of Santa Claus on the Disney Wish cruise ship. As a Disney fan, I'm sure you know what I mean when I say a friend of Santa. If you don't quite know what that means, it's not too hard to figure out, and if you're too young to understand what I'm getting at, good. This is now Peter's second year being a friend of Santa on a Disney Cruise Line ship. Listen as he shares stories about the different duties Santa has to perform on the ship, some of the special conversations he overhears between Santa and the guests, how they make sure every guest visiting Santa has their special moment, and so much more. Enjoy this special holiday episode of Disney Coast to Coast with Peter Allen Vogt.
What makes Disney magic more magical? The holidays.
Hello, Peter, and welcome back to Disney Coast to Coast. How you doing today?
I'm good. That's right. I'm a second-time guest.
That's right. You were on episode 627, so a while back, of Disney Coast to Coast, all about the opening of Disney MGM Studios. These days, you are a friend of Santa on the Disney Wish cruise ship. But before we jump into all of that stuff, why don't you remind folks, because you have a pretty lengthy history with Disney. Can you kind of give us, the Cliff's Notes versions?
I was lucky enough to be hired as an original cast member in 1989 with the Disney MGM Studios as a Streetmosphere character, along with my identical twin brother, and also worked at Comedy Warehouse and the Adventures Club, doing improv comedy at the Warehouse, and of course interactive improv comedy at the Adventures Club. And then also opened the Animal Kingdom as kind of a walk-around character, and then plus worked at Epcot in the street theater there, as well as working at the Magic Kingdom. My brother and I both played Tony at the restaurant there from Lady and the Tramp, among tons of different shows and things that we've done. From there, I went to California, where I opened DCA, Disney California Adventure, worked at Original Disneyland doing entertainment there. Then went over to Japan, where I worked as the mayor of Tokyo Disney Sea and opened that park and entertainment. Came back to America and was lucky enough to be involved in TV shows and films, Princess Diaries 2, Hannah Montana, Jessie, Good Luck Charlie, so many different things on the Disney Channel. And then for a short time worked alongside the Imagineers, creating an interactive attraction that was going to go into Epcot. And on and off has just been working with the company in so many of different divisions. And last year was successful enough to get to become friends with Santa Claus and hang out with him on the Fantasy last year. And this year he asked me to come and hang out with him here on the Disney Wish. So on top of all of that, I've just been back and forth with the Disney in so many different places and ways.
So like Santa, you've basically traveled the world for Disney, doing many different things.
I think I have. Ho, ho, boy, oh boy.
So before becoming a friend of Santa, what was like the last gig you had with Disney before that? Because it had been quite a while for you, right?
I think the last time I worked for the company in any of their divisions was probably one of the movies. I'd have to figure out which movie was the last one that I worked for the Disney company. Parks wise, I was one of the original citizens of Buena Vista Street when they reopened DCA with the new Buena Vista Street. I was part of that cast in the very beginning. So that was one of the last things I did officially for the theme parks.
So how did the Friend of Santa gig come about? Was this something that you saw and auditioned for, or I'm sure you're in their roster as well? How'd this one come about for you?
I'd seen an audition. It intrigued me. We were just still kind of pandemic-y, so there wasn't like a ton of work happening. And although I was a little worried about the pandemic and being on crowds, I knew that Disney had handled the situation very well, actually. They actually did really well with controlling COVID on the cruise ships and stuff like that. So I kind of reached out to a friend who was casting, and they were all like, "Wait, you're really interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." So, I chatted with Santa, saw what he thought. And originally, Santa and I were going to go to San Diego. And it turned out that a gentleman who was going to be on the fantasy wasn't able to do it. And the woman that had become friends with Mrs. Claus, she and I had known each other for years. She was the original Belle in Beauty and the Beast at the Disney MGM Studios. She's fantastically talented. Her name is Andrea Canny. So we ended up becoming friends with Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus last year, which was just fantastic. We got to meet so many great people, and of course, hanging out with the Clauses was so much fun, and it was a really great experience.
Had you ever been a friend of Santa's before in any other situation, or was Disney Cruise Line the first time for you?
Oh, Jeff, I have. I believe I first met Santa Claus when I was 18, maybe, at the Boulevard Mall in Western New York. And then Epcot did Christmases Around the World, and I was honored enough to be a friend of Father Christmas in England and St. Nicholas in Germany. And then I've done it on TV and films. There's a great fight as me as Santa Claus in a wonderful series that we did, years ago. I've done a bunch of times, film, TV, all over the place.
All right, so you're familiar with good old St. Nick. I didn't realize you'd done the Epcot gig. That's really cool, because I love what they do at Epcot with the kind of holidays around the world sort of storytellers.
Yeah, we were original, too. I was so lucky to be on the original cast of that group as well. It was so exciting and fun, because, when you get on the ground floor of something, the ideas come at you, and you get to workshop things, and really the creativity with that whole group. And I don't think they do it anymore, but we used to all gather at one point in the evening, so you could see all of us together in front of the tree at Epcot. And it was just so awesome and magical. And, you had the Voices of Liberty singing, and each one of us got introduced and said Merry Christmas in our language or how we say it. In England, they say Happy Christmas. In Germany, it's Fröhliche Weihnachten. Like, everybody had a special saying. It was awesome. I don't know if they do that part of it, but yeah, the storytelling part of Christmas, they keep doing it. It's just great. It's just I love how they do it.
That is very, very cool. So obviously, Santa Claus has such wonderful wardrobe. Disney Cruise Line has fantastic costumes for Santa.
Yeah, the costume they provide for Santa is stunning. They even gave him this new costume. It started last year, and it's this plush red velvet that has gold embroidered into it. And in the embroidery is the name of every ship in the fleet, including the Wish, because the Wish was brand new last year. And it's designed that you don't even notice it at first. And then in other areas, there's like waves and there's a ship. And it's very beautiful. It's very ornate, very classy. The boots are pure leather, just ridiculously huge, clunky Santa boots with this gorgeous gold inlay of like a ship's wheel and these beautiful filigree around it. And the white fur, of course, is there. And it's just stunning. I mean, the outfit is stunning. It's really, really beautiful. If you came on the ship, you get to see a little show, a tree lighting show. And during that tree lighting show, Santa appears out of nowhere. It's very magical. He welcomes everybody and he hangs out with Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and Pluto. And he says hello to everyone and wishes everyone a wonderful Merry Christmas. And they call it the Maritime Cruise. And he just basically announces he's taking the cruise with everybody, which is very exciting. And then in the next few days of your cruise, no matter which cruise you're on or how long it is, whichever cruise Santa happens to be on at the time, because as you know, he is magical, so he goes back and forth a lot. He does meet and greets in the main area where they have a beautiful chair for him. He meets all of these the children and adults alike come up, and he signs autographs. He does this beautiful autograph that is very, very nice. And he takes pictures with families and children and asks kids what they want for Christmas. And even the adults, there's so many adults that dress up in adorable outfits. So many families show up in their pajamas, and this is their Christmas card for the year. And, Santa's been on the ship since November 6th. He's been greeting guests and such. And then specifically on the Wish, Santa likes to come by and reads Christmas stories to the families in the evening. So that's kind of a special thing for the Wish that he does. On the other ships, it's Mrs. Claus, but Mrs. Claus said that, she, as much as she loves the Wish, she just had to put her foot down on how many ships we traveled to. So she stays on the Fantasy when Santa travels over to the Wish.
By any chance, Peter, have you seen the documentary called Becoming Santa?
I haven't.
Oh, it's from 2011. I highly recommend it. It's about a guy. He lives in Southern California. He's in his mid-40s, and he's just looking for some Christmas spirit in his life. And this has become annual viewing for me. I've already watched it this season. And he doesn't have family of his own or anything. And he decides to become a friend of Santa, essentially. And he goes through, training and going to all of these places around the country and being a friend of Santa's on, a Polar Express experience and in a parade and doing meet and greets and stuff like that. It's phenomenal. And I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I think you would very much enjoy it.
Where can you see it?
So I originally saw it on the Oprah Winfrey Network back in the day when it was brand new and they had nothing. So they just bought stuff and played it. So that's where I saw it originally. I've since purchased the DVD, but let me see. I'm going to check justwatch.com, my handy little resource, to see if, let's see if it pops up. Okay. It's available to stream on Roku, Tubi, Canopy, Plex, and Freevee. And Exumo Play. You can rent it on Amazon, YouTube, and Vudu. But there are quite a few free options. So the Roku channel, Tubi, highly recommend it. So, of course, being a friend of Santa on the Disney Wish, I would assume you have to be up on your knowledge when it comes to Disney movies, the latest Disney movies, the latest Disney toys. Do you have to study all that stuff?
Not as much as you think, because, Santa isn't a Disney property, and he is here to celebrate the kids and celebrate the holiday. So he doesn't really push a Disney agenda, nor does the company make him, which I think is really great. I mean, of course, the most asked thing that he gets asked, I remember standing there the other day watching him, and so many people ask for another cruise, which is very funny. The kids are just asking, from what I can hear from where I stand, the kids are asking, they're all very similar. A lot of the kids want Legos and they want Barbie. Barbie's back being super popular, and Squishmallows are very popular. So there hasn't been a specific Disney injection into things. And I think that's great, because I don't think Disney doesn't push any sort of monetary agenda. I think this is just something they love to do for the guests, is to have him here and just let kids experience it. Where else can you go where you can hang out with Santa and then 2 minutes later you're hanging out with Minnie Mouse? It's such an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, I'm going to assume while you're there with Santa, you must see some pretty incredible interactions, because let's face it, Santa's a rock star to these children, right? Obviously, like you said, there's Mickey Mouse and stuff, and that's one thing, but I don't know, Santa is just kind of next level, it feels like. Have you seen any personal favorite interactions?
I love when I'm standing there and you can see a little kid waiting in line, and they are full of energy. They're like, oh my God, Santa, oh my God. And they're beside themselves. Like you said, they're going to meet a rock star. And the second they get up there, they shut down. They just stare. Sometimes they'll cry. Sometimes they're like, nope, I'm out of here, and take off. Some kids walk up to Santa they've seen him, he's their best friend. It's hey, Santa, what's going on? I watched a 3-year-old walk up to Santa the other day, just out of nowhere, and be like, hi, and then just walk away. So you get those extremes. I love the adults who are really moved by being with Santa. And I know that Santa has these amazing moments. There's so many just beautiful special need kids that come on, and those moments I've watched and they just tug at my heart. They're so sweet, those kids. And they're so excited to meet Santa. And it's such a wonderful time just to give them one-on-one attention. And you just watch Santa with them, and it's really beautiful. So you see so many different levels. You see the parents that bring up 4 kids, and each kid separately has to have a picture, and then both girls, both boys. Now everybody. Now just like, it's crazy how people develop their concept of what they need when they see Santa.
It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend about this the other day. And let's face it, whether it's a Disney character or Santa Claus, there are often long lines to meet these characters. And, one thing I've noticed with Disney is no matter how long that line is, it never feels like the guest is being rushed. It always feels like the time that's necessary is given. And that's kind of remarkable. Like when you just think of it from a business point of view, it's like crank as many people through as you can. And there's definitely demand for characters. So it's really special that they allow that time. And I'm kind of curious if, being a friend of Santa, if there's been any rules as far as that's concerned.
That's a great question. That's something that actually we were discussing the other day, because on average, a character encounter, in their estimation of how they decide how long a line should be open as such, usually runs within a minute to a minute and a half. People come in, they take a picture, and they go. It's usually pretty quick, great moment, beautiful moment. And on the ships, especially, they have these amazing photographers who take unbelievable photographs. But then anyone in the family can take a picture. Like, parents are more than welcome to come and stand next to the photographer. Everyone can take pictures on their own personal phones. Some people just want a picture of Santa by himself. None of that is pushed away. As long as a kid needs to tell Santa what he needs, there's just no rushing anyone through. Some people come, sit down, take a picture, kids say something, they're gone. Some will stay for a long time. One kid the other day just wanted to stay next to Santa and literally just, let other families gather around me, but I'm with my best friend right now. And it was adorable, and nobody pushed him out of the way. Nobody had to rush him off. And you're right. The line is very long, and there's many opportunities when you go on the cruise. There's a couple of opportunities for these one-on-one meetings, but they're all at different times in the day. So you have these great moments to kind of schedule it in your day. But even though people have been standing, some people stand for over an hour in the line, they're not going to get cheated out of however much time they need to be with Santa. And there's absolutely no person that cuts them off or says, all right, that's enough, which I think is great. Even when Santa's leaving, as I'll walk back with him to go to the reindeer so he can go to another ship or something, he'll always stop and talk to any child that's there, pose with somebody real quick, do selfies, all the way till he gets, to the special elevator that takes him up to where the reindeer are. So I have to applaud the company on that. And that's that other thing of where they don't own Santa. They're just bringing him to the ships and even to the parks. So they're not rushing anyone through it. They're letting everyone have their moment, which I think is exactly what it is. I mean, that's why Disney is Disney,
Yeah, I think it's really impressive. And like you said, people do wait an hour and even longer sometimes to meet characters. So the fact that they can have that moment, I know for me, sometimes character interactions can get awkward. And I'm like, okay, let's take the photo and leave. And sometimes I feel like the characters and the friends and such are encouraging me to stay longer. I was like, no, there's plenty of people waiting. And I feel like as an adult, I'm like, no, let the kids have the time. I'm good. But they're so insistent on, no, take your moment, live in this moment. So that is a very cool thing about character meet and greets at the Disney parks and cruise ships and stuff. So very cool.
Adults get as much time as the kids. When there's 2 adults, he's always like, hello, children, sits them down, asks their names, tells them to look at the camera, asks them what they want for Christmas. A lot of people make the mistake and ask for $1 million. And then Santa says, oh, you didn't say tax-free. And so, they're going to have to pay the taxes. So it's just as much fun. And the adults love it. And why should they? In my estimation, they're the ones paying for the cruise. So they should get as much time with Santa as anybody. And they're fun. They're really, really fun. He loves encountering just the adults. He loves it. There's several times where it'll just be the kids and the two parents are standing there and he'll be like, do you want to come in and take a picture? And the parents are like, no, we're good. And then he's like, this is a moment. And they're like, you know what? You're right. And then they come in and they take a picture. And I know a lot of people have been super appreciative of that because of exactly what you're saying, of being afraid of rushing through. So I think that's another cool thing is like really helping everyone. We talk about magical moments. We talk about giving people that Disney magic. And I think that's happening with that.
That's very cool. Now, you spoke about the adults a little bit. I got to say, I was watching a video of Santa on the Disney Wish on YouTube, and a couple of vlogger adults came up and had their pajamas on, and Santa goes, "Aren't you adorable? Stop trying. You're there." I just had to laugh so much. And I'm curious, I mean, you're with Santa all day. Does Santa have go-to lines? You kind of mentioned, this is a moment, come enjoy it. But any other go-to lines that make you chuckle when you're with Santa?
Things I've heard him say whenever he brings in the adults, he always tells them to look at the camera and say, "Don't cry. It's just a camera." Because kids always, for some reason, kids get scared. So he treats them like they're going to be little kids who start crying. But I don't know that there's a 100% go-to. It's mostly how the parents react. Like the $1 million thing. It's like, should have asked for tax-free. And then they go to ask and he goes, nope, you're done. Bye-bye. Go away. Like, it's fun to see him be playful with the adults. Apparently there's a $5,000 drink in the Star Wars bar on the ship. And a gentleman said he wanted a Disney cruise. And the $5,000, he said, either the $5,000 drink or the Disney cruise. And Santa said, well, don't take another Disney cruise and you can afford the $5,000 drink. And the guy went, oh, that's a good point. So it really depends on what the people are saying or even what the kids say. But again, it's the opportunity to have a little bit of a moment, to have some fun. I've heard him say when kids ask for a truck, he'll go, do you want a real truck or a toy truck? And they'll say truck, and he'll go, do you have a license? You got to pay insurance. A lot of these teens want an I-15. And I've seen him be like, you got to pay the bill. You got to do this. And the parents just crack up because obviously he's saying stuff that they've all said. Another thing that the kids get it's so much fun to see the kids' reaction is when they hand the autograph book to him, he'll turn to one of the kids and say, can I have your autograph? And the kid will stare at him like, wait, what's happening? And go, no, we want your autograph. He goes, oh, I'm confused. And it's that fun game you get to play with kids. So it's really fun to see him do that. So those are things I guess I see him do often that seem to be paying off and make the moment lighter and more fun. But a lot of it depends on the people. I'll tell you, I've seen some really super funny, fun people. It's the holiday. You're on a Disney cruise. Everybody's in a great mood. No matter how long they've waited in line, everyone seems to be so happy to be there, to meet him. And it just helps with the whole energy. I know the first time he did the tree lighting, the response of the crowd was so loud you couldn't even hear him when he was speaking because the crowd was screaming so loud. It was so many people. It was really fascinating.
Do you find a difference in the crowds, just the way they react or just even their kind of spirit, whether it's the November 6th cruise or the, December 25th cruise? Is like the energy building throughout your time with Santa on the cruise?
In the beginning, like in November and all of that, people were crazy excited, right? Because like we didn't even have Thanksgiving yet. And they would see him and they would go crazy. Now people are more expecting him. They still are happy to see him. But I feel like we're in that time where there's a little bit of a dip. Everyone's coming out of Thanksgiving. The holidays have started, but we're just not quite there yet. I mean, it's literally December 1st today, right? And Santa's been on the ship. He's been on this ship for at least a month. And just for the other ships, I think he's been on those ships. He's popped back and forth a couple of times, right? So now we're starting to get into it. But this is that weird time of year. Like even if you go to the parks, the attendance dips a little bit, right? First 2 weeks of December, things kind of drop down a little bit. And then it's going to spike back up. But I mean, everyone's always excited to see him. But I think it ebbs and flows. It depends. The other day, Santa went out to have a meet and greet, and there was like 6 people in line. Then the next day he goes out to have a meet and greet, and there was 100 people in line. It's really that different.
So I'm sure you must see Santa receive a lot of things from children, whether it's a letter or a gift or something. Anything memorable in that realm?
Yeah, so far this year, I've seen him get a Christmas duck. Ducks are very big on this ship. Do you know about the ducks?
No.
I think this is a cruise ship thing, maybe, but you leave a duck and people find them. And you either keep it, and there's usually a tag with a website. You say, hey, I found this duck, and you post the website so people can see where that duck has traveled. Or you take that duck, and then before you leave the ship, you place it somewhere else. So a little kid brought Santa. They gave him a duck that looks like Santa, which was huge. Like, everybody was going crazy, which Santa was like, I have no idea what this means, but thank you. And I think the cutest thing is when the kids give him their lists. He's received many, many lists. Some it looks like they brought from home. Some that have been written on the stationery on the cruise. Some look like they ripped a piece of paper out of somebody's wallet and wrote something super quick. But those have been very funny. And pictures, he's gotten pictures, but mostly it's been that type of stuff, like the lists and a little bit of a letter. When they do the autographs, some kids have massive, beautiful autograph books. Other kids literally have scraps of paper, but they just want his signature. So it's been a range. It's been a really interesting range. And it's very fascinating because, not everybody celebrates Christmas, but for some reason, everybody wants to come and say hi to Santa. And that's been really cool to see him greeting people who celebrate different holidays at this time and being able to celebrate their holiday, but still take a picture with them and have a great time.
Now, as a friend of Santa, do you get to keep and collect and organize these letters for Santa, or does, the cruise ship take them, or does Santa take them with him when he travels, or are you kind of his secretary?
I'm kind of his secretary. I kind of take them for him, make sure they're organized, and then at the end of at the end of the day, I will make sure that he has them so he can put them in the sleigh to take them back up north. But I'm the one who's organizing all of that stuff for him. I guess I am his secretary.
So, Santa is obviously meeting people from around the world who speak many different languages. I'm curious, how are his different language skills? Has he been learning different languages? Does he know sign language?
He knows some sign language. I've seen him use it a couple of times. And what's fascinating about that is when he does something like that, how excited that person responds, because it's Santa's identifying with them, even if it's literally having to spell everything out or just knowing simple things. Like, he does know how to say Merry Christmas in sign language. He knows a few words, mostly has to spell things out, which looks clunky when he does it in his glove. But he's done that a couple of times. I've seen him do it on the Wish a couple of times. And the people, the parents with that person, everybody goes crazy. And then I've noticed on this cruise, we have a lot of, Hispanic families, even though most of them speak English. I've seen him kind of speak to them in Spanish, asking the kids what they want from Christmas in Spanish. Not super conversational, but enough to show a respect, I think it is, and just to connect and identify. And the faces, everyone's faces light up. People from Brazil, the fact that, in Spanish it's Feliz Navidad, but in Portuguese it's Feliz Nadal. And just that difference that a lot of people don't know. When you say that to someone who speaks Portuguese, just saying, como vai, which is a hello, and Feliz Nadal, and obrigado, tomo louco, which means, the things make me crazy. Just those few phrases, they are so entertained by that. And then we have a lot of families from Japan, which Santa has been speaking Japanese to them, and they just explode. The joy on their faces is just amazing. He's been trying to get there. He's been trying to make it work. And the little that he has done, it seems to be paying off really well.
Very cool. Now, I am curious because I feel like there's an entire generation out there who doesn't know how to spell Santa Claus's name due to a little Disney movie called The Santa Claus starring Tim Allen. So there's two things. I'm curious, when Santa gets letters, are a bunch of them misspelled with an E at the end, which is incorrect? And are there ever any children looking for, Tim Allen, who portrayed Santa Claus in a film?
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't gotten any of that. I've gotten no the Santa Claus references, which is interesting because I believe there's a series now, right?
On Disney Plus. Yeah, they're now, this year is the second season of the Santa Clauses, which is with Tim Allen, and it's, a spinoff of those three films that I grew up with. So
yeah, I don't get much of that. I get a lot of, here are the questions that I hear a lot of kids that ask Santa about. It's mostly about where's Rudolph. It's mostly about the reindeer. Some will ask about where Mrs. Claus is. Going back to, you talked about whether or not he has a go-to with that. He always says, I don't know, somewhere in these stores spending all my Christmas money, which always gets a great reaction from the adults. How did you get here? They always want to know where the reindeer are. So they're always up on the roof, on the top of the boat. Can we go see them? Oh, they're napping. Like, there's a lot of that. I've not gotten that I could hear from where I stand when Santa's working, I guess, as a secretary, that a lot of those things happen. I look at the letters and I have to say, I've not seen a misspelled clause. I think all of the letters I've seen, even the ones that are written in Spanish, are all spelled properly and correctly.
That's great to hear because, I legitimately just did this today. It is December 1st. I always post a social media post, reminding people Santa Claus is spelled Claus and the E at the end is not appropriate, because I see so many people on social media. And listen, it's people who grew up with the film, I'm sure, but like so many people on social media spell it incorrectly. And I'm just like, guys, that is not how you spell Santa Claus. You're missing the joke with the title of the movie. But whatever. I'm happy to hear the kids of today know how to spell Santa Claus correctly. That's fantastic. So you've talked about some of the responsibilities that Santa has on the cruise ship, but can we start just a typical day in the life of Santa on the Disney Wish? When does it start? When does it end? And what's happening throughout the day?
It depends. It depends on which day it is. He has different things he does each day. And since he has responsibilities on the other ships, he has to time things out with that. But normally, for the Wish, since I am now his secretary, I kind of love that. If it's a day that they're sailing, which for us has been on Mondays and Fridays, since we're a 3-day cruise and a 4-day cruise, that night is the tree lighting and Santa appears in that show. That's the first time the kids see Santa. And then the next day is when he'll come out and have a couple of meet and greets. And then if it's a 4-day, that next day, which would be the 3rd day, he may have a meet and greet. Depends if he has to be on another ship. He has to be on another ship. And then on that last day for both ships, he'll have a meet and greet. And then shortly after there, do the little story reading, which always ends with a special surprise of some special guests that he introduces. So that's his day. It's different times and different places, but it's nice because he gets a chance to really, really get out there to see the kids as much as he can.
That's awesome. He is a busy man this time of year. That is for sure.
He really is. I don't know why he does this.
Well, thank you for being his secretary so that he has the ability to do it. Because without you, I don't think anybody would be having a good meeting with Santa on the Disney Wish. So thank you for that. Anything else you want to add about being a friend of Santa's before I just kind of ask you some questions about the Disney Wish in general?
No, I think we've covered a ton of stuff.
Excellent. Well, as you said, the Disney Wish is the newest Disney Cruise Line ship. It opened back in 2022. This is the second holiday season on the Disney Wish, but I'm just kind of curious. I believe this is your first time on the ship. What are your impressions of the Disney Wish? Any favorite little areas or anything like that?
Having experienced the Fantasy last year and that being my first time on a Disney cruise ship, I really fell in love with the Fantasy and the way it was laid out. And the layout, there are similarities and differences. And I know that one of the things I've heard a lot of people say, you basically only have two banks of elevators, whereas on the Fantasy you had three because you had midship. What they did here, and I believe the Treasure is the same ship, they have, instead of being like a lobby area, they call it the Grand Hall. And they have a stage, and they have,
Mm-hmm.
the tree is beautiful. And you go up, it starts on deck 3 and goes up to deck 5. And where on the other ships, you can't access deck 5 from the main area. On this, there's a beautiful staircase that takes you up to deck 5. And what I love for that is actually watching people last night. There's so many opportunities for some amazing photos, great character meet and greets. So I love that area. There's a section of the ship which is adults only on deck 13. And I love that area, not because it's adults only, but just because it's a little bit quieter and it's at the top so you can see out and you can see stuff. And then there's a little area on deck 5. Deck 5 is an open deck. So you can actually just stand there and look at the water. But also when they do the fireworks at night, it's a perfect viewing area. And they pipe the music, the pirate music they do, once every cruise, it's pirate night. So you can just stand there on deck 5 and enjoy the pirate music and enjoy the wonderful fireworks without being in the huge crowd that gathers up on deck 11 and 12. So I found little things like that. They have beautiful movie theaters. The shows here are awesome. So there's definitely a lot to do in a short amount of time. Being his secretary and being here obviously can take more time to explore. I haven't been able to have any meals in any of the restaurants yet, but so far, like, there's a Star Wars bar that I went to that was awesome. There's this Bayou Cafe, which is so beautiful, and just had like a lovely cup of coffee and some beignets. The theming is really strong, so there's no question about where you are. Overall, I'm still exploring because it's that big.
That's very cool. How much time do you have on the ship, like between cruises? Like, how long is it cast members only on the ship?
We usually dock around 6 in the morning, 5 or 6 in the morning, and then the ship has to be cleared by immigration, and then guests start leaving. So normally, I would say around 10 is when most guests have left, and they don't seem to come on until probably around 11:30ish. It's not a long time, but guests cannot get into their rooms until 1:30 or 2. So they tend to, be in the grand hall, look around. Maybe if there's port adventures, they go there and sign up, or they all go up to deck 11. And on deck 11 is where you have a couple of pools, but also there's a food court. And then at the other end is the basically what we would call the buffet restaurant. So a lot of them will go there and start having lunch or something. So it only seems like it's an hour or 2 hours at the most that it's totally guest free.
That's wild. I did not expect that answer. That is a very, very, very short turnaround.
Yeah, I have to say, on both of these ships I've been on, and especially this one, everyone works so hard. The crew is amazing. The entertainment crew, the room stewards, the food people, everybody's amazing. They just work so hard because everything has to be turned over so quickly. And they do it with a smile on their face, and they're so pleasant. And, everyone's from all over the world. So that's the coolest thing, is just meeting people from all over the world and just getting to know them. Because I'm Santa's secretary, I don't look like a normal crew member, so I get stopped a lot and I have to show my ID. But once they know that I work with Santa, everybody's like so nice. And they're always like, hey, I need to talk to Santa. Can you hook me up? Can you get me an appointment? So it's always been really fun that way. But there is not a time that you're not guest free at all.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, Peter, I gotta say, first of all, I just thank you on behalf of like everybody that goes on the Disney Wish and gets to meet Santa, because listen, people should know you're making a huge sacrifice being there, because you're missing your holidays at home and stuff. And Santa's working into January, correct? When is his last sailing?
Santa's he heads back to the North Pole on the 26th this year. He's going to head back to the North Pole, I believe. Last year, he stayed on the Fantasy a little bit longer, But this year he's heading back pretty quick. But, has been on since the beginning, literally, was here for Halloween. So, yeah, as his secretary, I'm here for Halloween, for Thanksgiving, which, Thanksgiving is an American thing. So it's not like a hugely celebrated thing. It's not like we had a Thanksgiving dinner celebration on the ship. There was a few offerings, but it's not like most of the crew and stuff. They don't even know what it is. And then my birthday is this month, and then Christmas will be this month, obviously. So yeah, there's a lot of the holidays that are missed, or the moments like that. So it's worth it, though. Santa's cool. He's nice.
On behalf of everybody that enjoys their time with Santa on the Wish, thank you for the sacrifice. I hope you're having a great time. And I know, listen, Santa keeps you busy, and I know you've been busy. So thank you for taking the time to chat with me here on the podcast.
Thank you for asking me. I love your podcast. You know that. And I miss seeing you. And I know a lot of these people don't realize what a great singer you are, and all of that fun we used to all have at Rockwell Table and Stage. So I just love that we were able to reconnect and do this.
Awesome. Thank you for the kind words. And I will see you when you're back in LA and when, you can leave the reins of Santa's secretary.
I need a name tag that says secretary. So I think I need to go and talk to him.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and that it shed a bit of light on Santa's duties on the Disney Wish. Before I say goodbye today, I want to play a couple of voicemails for you that were left on the DCTC hotline. As you may recall, several House of Mouse headlines ago, we talked about how the Hoop-Dee-Doo musical review at Walt Disney World was having a special holiday edition for Disney Vacation Club members. In that episode, I wondered whether or not there had ever been a holiday version of Hoop-Dee-Doo before. Listener Brian called in to set the record straight.
Hey, Jeff. My name is Brian, and I'm calling as a former Walt Disney World cast member from 1997 to 2008, working in costuming, creative costuming, entertainment development, and costume management. I just wanted to give a touch that the Hoop-Dee-Doo review has at least been my experience down in Orlando at that point, had a Christmas overlay over there at Pioneer Hall and whatnot. But keep up the good work, and thank you for doing what you do. Take care.
Thanks, Brian, for taking the time to leave a voicemail and for that info. This next voicemail was left a while back during the SAG-AFTRA strike. Since it's about movies, I couldn't talk about it then, so I held on to it until now. Here's a message and question from listener Juliana.
This is Juliana from California, and I was just thinking about all of the remakes that are coming out. And one remake that I would really love to see is, hear me out, a drunken little frog going to hell. I'd love to see that. I think it'd be great if there was a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride done in like a Wes Anderson kind of Fantastic Mr. Fox stop motion animation with the little suits and ties and stuff. I think that would be great. I also think it'd be good in CGI, where maybe it turns out that the mansion and all of that fanciful stuff is really just in the little animal's head as like a twist, and really they're just living in a vlog full of bugs or something instead of a mansion. I think that'd be great. Love to hear what you think, and if there's any other remakes that you think are worth a try.
Thanks for the message, Juliana. Now, actually, Disney has already remade Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It was a 1996 live-action movie starring Eric Idle, aka Nigel Channing from the Imagination Institute, and John Cleese. Check it out and let me know what you think of it, Juliana. As far as the stop-motion version is concerned, I grew up with a 1983 stop-motion TV movie version called The Wind in the Willows. It's not Disney, but I was actually a big fan of it as a kid. As far as what movie I would like to see remade, I've always said that I'd rather see a movie that flopped the first time around made better. In a lot of cases, it feels a bit sacrilegious to take a masterpiece and remake it. If it's already brilliant, why make it again? We all know the answer is brand recognition and money, but I would rather see them take something that wasn't a hit and fix it. With that in mind, why not try and fix The Black Cauldron? I feel like it could lend itself to some cool live action, and y'all know I love a dark story. Thanks for the message, Juliana. If you'd like to leave a voicemail with a thought, a question, or both, and possibly be heard on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast, simply call 818-860-2569. And don't forget to order your 2024 DCTC wall and desk calendars over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. You can also find a handy link in this episode's description. Each calendar comes with the Disney Parks anniversaries noted in the calendar. Get one for yourself, as a gift, or both. They're now available for a limited time at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Dizney, with a Z, Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app, where episodes are available 24/7. Until next time, anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, contact info to reach me, access to the show's official website, and so much more. Now, next week will be the final House of Mouse headlines for 2023, followed by the season finale of Disney Coast to Coast the following week. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!